Welcome back to Tony's Fireside Chat. And today I'm really excited to have somebody I really respect, Joe Reichsfeld, back on the podcast. Joe, welcome.
Thanks, Tony. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing well. Spring is on the way. Hopefully, some nicer weather, and I'm excited.
Yeah. What's the high temperature there today?
Today it's kind of cloudy and rainy. It's about maybe 5, 6, so we're in the plus at least.
It's going to be 91 here today for the high and 64 for the low.
Oh my God! Don't get me jealous of Arizona weather. You know what? Before we get into the podcast, I should mention, were you able? We'll talk about it afterwards about Marcia Reese. If you're able to connect with her,
Yeah. No, I wasn't, and I was going to email her this morning. We've kind of played tag last week.
Okay.
And I was going to email her this morning because she sent me some times that she had,
Yeah.
and all the times that she had I had calls.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I get it. Everybody's busy, but I think this could be a great connection.
Yeah, I'm probably just going to call her direct after when we're done.
Yeah, and because she's nearby, so
She's in Arizona?
Yeah, she's in Phoenix.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, to me, that's karma. When somebody's close by, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
So, Joe, let me get into the podcast because we're here. We're getting into the second quarter of 2022, and why I respect you and I consult with you on a regular basis because you deal with so many different people, businesses. You really have a pulse on what's going on out there, and
I try to have a pulse.
What are you seeing out there? What are the things that are catching your attention?
That people need to be clued into their users. It's about the buyer's journey now.
Yeah.
And there is no buyer's journey on Amazon. They've already gone through 3/4 to 90% of the buyer's journey when they get to Amazon. So that to me it's about being there for your buyer. When your buyer looks at you and looks at your brand, what do they see? Put yourself in their shoes. What do they see when they look at you and your brand? And what does it make them think? What questions do they have? Do they trust you? You've got your website. You're not just on Amazon, but the people that are just on Amazon put themselves at a disadvantage if they're not doing something to involve themselves with their buyers off of Amazon. The holy grail for a seller is when you get a branded search on Amazon. When somebody first gets to Amazon to look for whatever kind of product you're selling, if you've got a branded search, that changes the game. Nobody's PPC is going to steal them away from you. So as a seller, that would be my priority, would be getting myself in a position to get as many of those branded searches as I can. And that's not taught. That's the thing that's not taught. Most people research their products before they get to Amazon. There's nothing social about Amazon. They can go on social media and they can, ping you and say, "Hey, Tony, I'm getting ready to buy this," knowing that you know about that and ask you questions about it. You can't do that on Amazon. Mm-hmm. You can't both be interacting about the same thing. You can't, get information from your brother-in-law or sister-in-law live, about products. And people do all that before they get to Amazon. Yeah. So the sellers that are involved in putting themselves out there, to be able to interact with their clients beforehand through content, through advice. I've seen your tweets lately. Your tweets are very informative, and they have, for a single guy, I get information from your tweets, things that I don't know, so to me, that's helpful. And how many sellers are really doing any of that on Facebook or Twitter? They go on Facebook um, to commingle with other sellers and to complain about stuff. They
Mhm.
don't go on Facebook to market their product or even to interact with their potential buyer.
Yeah.
If every seller took 20% of the time they spend yapping with other sellers and put that towards interacting with their potential audience,
Yeah.
it would change their business.
Honestly.
It really would.
But let me ask you this, because I get this a lot. Is Amazon still the best place, or not necessarily the best place, but the fastest way that people can scale, as opposed to trying to doing it on their own on a Shopify or Etsy type of
Um,
scenario?
in most cases, yes, but not all.
Yeah.
It depends on the product and the category. You know, if you're selling something that a teenage boy is going to buy, no,
Hmm.
because they don't hang out on Amazon. If you're selling something that appeals to, you know, a married woman around 40, well, that's you've got much more opportunity on Amazon. But then you have this whole competition thing.
Yeah.
You know, do you want to target an audience, let's say that's 100,000 people strong, but you have 100 competitors and you're fighting over price on Amazon? Or would you rather fight over an audience that's 15,000 people strong, but you have one competitor and there is no fight over price?
Yeah.
Which audience is better? I would take number two,
Hmm.
personally, because I know I've only got one person I'm competing against versus 100. It's going to be a much easier fight. I'm going to get a larger percentage of the customer base, and that might be on a forum.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of good forums out there still. Anybody that says there isn't, is lying.
Hmm.
But people don't, particularly e-commerce sellers, they don't target forums. They don't advertise on forums. I have a client who sells something that is video game related,
Yeah.
and we ran an ad on a forum. He got a million impressions for $100.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Mhm.
You know, it wasn't target. It didn't turn out to be the right forum because it wasn't targeted enough to his specific game. But still, for a million impressions, he didn't lose any money.
Yeah. That's something I think people need to look into. I've gonna look into like sort of opportunities on. We've talked about Quora or Reddit and all those sorts of places.
Yep. On to find forums, you can go to boardreader.com, BOARD
Okay.
reader.com, or findaforum.net.
Hmm.
And both of those sites will get you a lot of forum information. Another thing that, another way to find your audience is through social listening. And social listening is where you use a system that monitors the web, forums, social media, and internet sites all together for your brand name, for your keyword phrases, and things like that. So the big name used to be Google Alerts.
Yeah.
Google Alerts is worthless because Google Alerts does not cover social media.
Right.
You'd think they would have updated it by now, but they haven't. Talkwalker Alert is free and it covers the entire internet. So
Wow.
whenever somebody says your brand name or whatever keyword phrase that you want to track,
Yeah.
you get an email and
Wow.
you can go in and you can become a part of the conversation.
Hmm.
You can just read the conversations that are being had.
Yeah.
There's lots of things you can do with that. But what it does is uh, it creates instances where you can find influencers,
Yeah.
you can find product ideas, you can find issues that your competitors are having that you can fix,
Hmm.
you can find trends. It just depends on what you're monitoring, and that's another way of locating your audience.
That's a great tip. You know what? I fall into that category. I've got Google Alerts,
Mhm.
and I haven't updated it. And that's the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use that tip. Moving on to when we're talking about a brand off of Amazon, and micro influencers have been really hot, in the last few years. What are the trends you're seeing? Have we been able to any tips on sort of um, automate that whole process to sort of reach out to sort of influencers and make that sort of less cumbersome?
Well, it's there are systems out there that can be used. There's a system called influencerbits.com, and they monitor your buyers list and your followers,
Wow.
and they will help you turn them into advocates, and they will track what they're posting. They will give them rewards if that's the way you set it up.
Mm-hmm.
There are several systems out there that can be used. Some are really expensive, and some are really good, like Talkwalker. Talkwalker Alerts is free. The Talkwalker Suite starts at $8,400 a month.
Wow.
Right. So if you just go to the website and you don't see that they have the free alert service, you're going to leave the website.
Mm-hmm.
But it's finding those things in there, that's really, really important. Talkwalker is one of the social monitoring soft tools that covers the most, resources.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an article on my website about social listening tools, but I also have a whole series about influencers, finding influencers, influencer tools, the best ones to use, and it breaks it out on, it depends on what your goals are. There's no one best tool.
Yeah.
It comes down to what are your goals. They all have different features, which is frustrating because then you end up with multiple tools.
Yeah.
But it's part of what you do. The first thing you have to do with all of this stuff to make any of it work is you have to know your audience, and you have to have goals. If you don't have both of those things in place, then you're just going to be spinning your wheels, and you're going to be getting information that you could have acted on and not realize how important it is. And everything starts with a foundation, and that's unfortunately, a lot of sellers, that's not what they learn. That's not where they start on Amazon. You don't learn about your buyers on Amazon. You learn about where you're buying. You just throw everything at the wall.
Or how to optimize the listing.
Right? Yeah, and even that is very deceiving because optimizing your listing starts with knowing your buyer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't on Amazon. So the seller that understands their buyer on Amazon and understands what motivates the purchase is going to do better than most other sellers on Amazon because they don't.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, because I get this a lot, because I had this recently. If somebody's totally brand new and they want to start off in e-commerce, they feel almost overwhelmed. Like there's so much out there, so many ways to go. And what would you recommend? What would you say is to kind of simplify the process for them?
As far as looking for a product?
Looking for a product. And
so I see this all the time with looking for a product. And, and everybody, they preach Alibaba.
Yeah.
Well, right now, what I've always said is look around you. When tourists come to your area, what's the one thing that they have to have because they can't get anywhere else? That's a great product.
Yeah.
If you can source it and manufacture it or produce it on regularly, that's a great first product to carry. It can be that simple. But in today's economic situation, the way things are right now, and I've been saying this to new sellers quite a bit, screw China, forget about China. I mean, let's be smarter. Let's work smarter and not harder. So what are my opportunities? I can go to China or Mexico, okay, and I can source products from Mexico. And since I'm not carrying products already, I'm not married to anybody in China. I don't have a relationship with anybody in China. I don't even have a product yet. Well, I can source out of Mexico for a lot less than I can source out of China right now because of the logistics, right? So, me being the sneaky person I am, I'm going to find a product that sells really well on Amazon already, does great on Amazon,
Yeah.
that I can source in Mexico for 30 to 40% less just because of no tariffs and the free trade agreement.
Yeah.
Well, if you can show up on Amazon in 45 days and all of a sudden you're the seller coming in at 30% less than everybody else just because of your cost savings,
Mm-hmm.
is that a good place to be? So today, in this atmosphere,
Yeah.
I would seriously be looking at that. Um, you know, it doesn't matter how good of a seller that other seller is.
Yeah.
If they can't touch you and your costs, what are they going to do? You at least have 45 days before they figure it out and start ordering from Mexico themselves.
Yeah.
But what I would do is when I contact that manufacturer in Mexico, because this is new to them, I'm going to work an exclusive agreement with them.
Yeah.
You know, so that I'm going to beat everybody else to the punchline. So then as I roll it out on Amazon, I'm really going to push it and I'm going to build up that traffic. I'm going to get influencer traffic as well because
Yeah.
I want to solidify my spot, my number one ranking. You know, when somebody figures out where I'm sourcing from and realizes they can source for much less also, and they move to Mexico, I don't want to be able to be pushed out of that first spot position. But if I was a new seller,
Yeah.
I mean, right off the bat, you know, most new sellers are undercapitalized, you know, and with the logistics, the cost of logistics right now, you have to be 10x. You know, on your just to make money, you have to be 10x, and
Yeah.
there's not a lot of products you can be 10x with. You know, but if let's say you can be 5x by getting it out of Mexico, well, bam, there you go. You know, um, the war in Ukraine, the cost of gas, logistics isn't going down. To think that it's going to go down anytime soon is a pipe dream. You know, we have all these lockdowns in Mexico, or not Mexico, in China.
Yeah.
We're looking at Groundhog Day in shipping and in the ocean, you know, and all the ships off the San Diego coast again.
Wow.
That's what I think, you know, and then there's Amazon who charters their own ships and buys their little docking area and slows it down for everybody else.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? Like, what is the easiest way to make contact with sort of these suppliers in Central America? Because that's some of the issues. Because there seems to be a bigger infrastructure, obviously, set up for China and Asia in general.
There definitely is a bigger infrastructure set up in China and Asia. I mean, they know, you know, they were smart about it. I have an article on my website
Okay.
that is product sourcing resources all over the world, and I have specifically added more resources to it for Mexico and Central America recently, and I will continue to do that. There are a couple sites in Mexico that are wanting to be the Alibaba of Mexico. There's one called exporta.wholesale.io, I think. It's on that article on my website.
Okay.
But they are trying to be like an Alibaba of Mexico and show you multiple products from multiple suppliers. You know, dealing with Mexico, dealing with any country from country to country, it's going to be different. They're all a little different. In the U.S., when you deal with manufacturers in the U.S., they specialize. So the guy that's making steel products isn't going to be able to add your plastic part to it unless you contract that out to somebody else. In Mexico, they're a little closer to China in that they will do a lot of things in one factory. But you know, you have to understand a lot of these factories in Mexico, they haven't been manufacturing international in 15 or 20 years. So for a lot of them, it's new. So, you know, there's other complexities. Like the one client of mine that moved his product to Mexico had to deal with helping them figure out how to box the product. They had never actually boxed their product before. They shipped it unboxed in trucks. Well, he's ordering so many of them, they had to figure out the boxing and the boxing requirements of Amazon to get it right. Is that worth saving 30%?
Yeah.
It is to me. It is to me. Those are the kinds of things you have to worry about in Mexico. In Mexico, depending on the area, you have to worry about your supply chain. Because of the drug wars, everything moved to Asia years ago. And there's still some areas that are a little sketchy. But there are also companies that you can work with, sourcing companies that will guarantee your supply chain.
Wow.
The biggest thing that I notice in Mexico, you have to make sure that the raw materials are available and not coming from China. If they're coming from China, you're looking at 4 months, which is the whole reason of going to Mexico. You're trying to avoid that. But there's a lot of products in Mexico that you can source. Composite wood is a product that you can have made, anything made out of composite wood. You can have that even manufactured in the USA and save money over China right now because of logistics and because it's a readily available product. So really, there's, electronics are a little bit different, although there are big electronics companies moving to Mexico and the US right now.
Yeah.
Foxconn has that Minnesota manufacturing plant. And I know they just announced some big ones here in the Phoenix area. Intel, more Intel, and more computer stuff that they're bringing to the US from China.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't look, you don't know.
Yeah. Well, I would say, Joe, I'm going to check out your website. I'm going to leave a link at the bottom for everybody. Ecom Optimizer is Joe's website. I go on there frequently. I haven't gone in a little while. I'm going to check out this article that Joe's talking about. Joe, what else are you seeing before we wrap this up? Like, what are the things? Because I did a poll recently, and 80% of the people felt there's going to be a recession in the next 12 months, the way things are going. And how would e-commerce sellers in general prepare for that?
I don't necessarily agree with there being a recession in the next 12 months for several reasons. One is war is good for any economy.
Yeah.
And another is that when you look at big energy, Starbucks, Exxon, all those companies, they're posting record profits and record executive bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they're telling us that they have to increase prices because of expenses. I think never before has that been put out to where we know about that. In the past, we didn't always see that, but now, we see more of that. And I think that hopefully, there's going to be more of an uproar because of that. Just a few weeks ago, Starbucks was on one page of the newspaper. There's a story about Starbucks asking their employees to take a pay cut across the board, company-wide. All their line employees, they asked them to take a pay cut because of Starbucks expenses. On the financial part of the newspaper, there's an article about Starbucks having record profits and all of Starbucks executive leaders getting record bonus payouts.
Wow.
That's,
I think
Starbucks just had a whole bunch of union votes this week, too, and they lost.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. My last question is, how do you see this playing out with Amazon getting potentially unionized because they won a vote recently?
They should be. Amazon makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they don't they're not employee focused whatsoever. They're not buyer focused either. For them to say that is the biggest lie in the world. In order to be buyer centric, you have to be employee centric first.
Yeah.
Your employees deal with your buyers, not Jeff Bezos. He doesn't talk to buyers. He doesn't know what buyer centric is. They just refund money. They don't help buyers. That's not buyer centric. On Amazon, because of sellers, that also has they would need to be seller centric and employee centric before they could be buyer centric. I personally think that because of the way they treat their employees, unionizing for them is a smart thing. that has a negative impact on sellers, though, because Amazon does not pay for anything themselves. Everything comes back to sellers in fees, and so that Amazon is going to fee themselves out of the business. They really are.
Mhm.
I would not be surprised if between the Congress, what Congress is wanting to do, and between that and just their fees and stuff, if Amazon were to close the marketplace in a few years. I would not be surprised one bit if they did that. But then they became the e-commerce supply chain of the world.
Yeah.
So imagine Amazon closes the marketplace, but then Facebook opens their marketplace and Amazon handles all of their fulfillment.
Yeah.
I mean, Amazon's on track to replace UPS,
Wow.
and they want to. Now they're trying to carry other people's packages.
So you're saying they
Through
could
you as a
potentially,
seller for your shipping,
yeah.
but they want to carry other companies' packages now as well.
So they're going to be basically almost a logistics company.
That's the direction they're moving. And when think about it, if they were to do that,
Yeah.
they would still get their chunk of every product ordered. So they would not be giving that up. I don't know. Maybe I could be completely wrong, but that's I've Amazon is, in my opinion, over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the riding off into the sunset mode and have been for several years, and they're not going anywhere yet. Jeff Bezos right now just applied for a $10 billion government payout subsidy
What?
to finance Blue Origins. Yeah, he wants a $10 billion taxpayer-funded subsidy from the government to finance Blue Origins. If he gets that, I don't think he will pay as much attention to Amazon. If he doesn't get that, I think he needs that fire hose of money to continue.
Yeah.
I don't think the marketplace is the focus anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think the focus has been logistics and Blue Origins for a while. And, when you think about it, Amazon has more than doubled their fulfillment space since 2020, more than doubled it. And they have added as much cargo space separately, completely separately. Yet they limit what you can stock.
Yeah.
How does that work? They have the same amount of sellers. They don't have any more sellers now than they did then. How do they not have that space? They have to be prioritizing it for something else and for somebody else.
Makes sense.
To me that says that they're focusing it on other businesses. The other part of that is, the reason Amazon expanded the logistics and got all crazy with their logistics is because it is their biggest cost center. Shipping's been their biggest cost center now for a while. So they made all these purchases and did all this streamlining to lower their costs. Yet fees went up.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about sellers.
No.
I mean, they're between logistics and Amazon fees, you lost 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Easy of your bottom line in the last 20 months.
Yeah.
A lot of sellers can't absorb that.
Perfect. Joe, listen, I'm going to leave a link to your website at the bottom for people to reach out to you. What's the best way to reach out to you as well?
On Facebook under e-commerce optimizer. My website is e-commerce-optimizer.com. That's really the best ways to find me.
Perfect. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.